The largest ever survey of nearly 40 gamers found that gaming does not appear harmful to mental health unless the gamer can't stop. It was the quantity of gaming, but the quality that counted. If they felt they had to play, they felt worse than who played because they felt they have to. If they felt they had to play, they felt worse than who played because they felt they have to. Either this is word salad or am not understanding the distinction. The article says want to play, not had to play. Up botched the title edit. The research did show a distinct difference in the experience of gamers who play because they want to and those who play because they feel they have to. Removed. Removed. If they felt they had to play, they felt worse. If they played because they loved it, then the data did not suggest it affected their mental health. Suggests it's word salad. Op is bad at writing titles. They probably because they want to for the second part. Quick glance through the article confirms my assumption. Botched titles result in higher user engagement, boosting Op's visibility. Playing because they wanted or felt like playing, good playing because of addiction or fear of missing out or any other reason that made them feel forced. Bad reason that could make them feel forced to play was not specified in the headline. Removed. A lot of games have progress markers like battle passes or daily quests that you have to log in every single day to complete if you want to get the rewards associated with them. Regardless of how well you play, the rewards will take the same amount of time to earn, and so you must play the game daily and in some cases for significant periods of time per day if you want to get them. This makes a lot of players feel like they need to play the game regardless of desire to play. That is what is meant when they say they felt they had to play. They were being compelled to do it in the same way you or I are compelled to show up to our actual jobs. By comparison, those that felt they have to play the game feel that way because they are having fun. They feel the need to play often because they are having a great time, not because the game is forcing them to play every day by barring them from progress. If they don't. To use an example, in Final Fantasy XIV there are plenty of daily tasks that you can complete that contribute to the overall progress of your character, whether it be levels, gear, or money. However, the daily content is designed to give a player more than they need to reach the weekly limit so that the player does not have to play every day. This allows the player to play the game when they want to, when they find it fun. By comparison, a lot of other games also have daily quests that you can complete daily for rewards, but they are designed in such a way that if you do not log in every single day, you miss significant progress to your character, whether in the form of lost currency, reputation, or gear. Because of this FOMO, many players will turn a game like this into a literal job because the game doesn't allow for anything else. It's a slight distinction, but it speaks to how the game's reward systems are designed. Edit. It appears in an attempt to explain Op's botched headline. I basically just explained the entire article using me own observations about game design. So that's neat, ambiguous, even if completely unnecessary. I feel strokey. This title gave me glaucoma. It's alluding to addiction. Just like any vice, it's not necessarily the vice that is harmful, it's the method in which it is used. Alcohol is a good example. I love socially drinking at bars, having 3, 5 drinks and then stopping. I drink because it enhances my experience, gives me a buzz and makes me loosen up. But an alcoholic wakes up and consumes alcohol from the moment they wake up to escape their own reality because it is too painful to experience sober. They drink because they have to. It's a compulsion they can't stop. Same applies to video games. If you play 10 hours a day and have a fulfilling lifestyle, that's fine. But if you are playing 10 hours per day to medicate your existence, that's not. Removed. Gamers who play because they want to and those who play because they feel they have to. From the article. Title is word salad. It's really simple. They're a contrasting recreational use with gaming addiction. Removed, 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 removed. Obligations desire had to plays wanted to. In everything in life, not just video games, wanting to do something will always make you feel better than feeling like you have to do something. But some have to things like cleaning and exercise and healthy eating aren't necessarily bad for your mental health, though they can be taken to extremes, of course. I think with games it's especially important to note the potential for addictive behavior. And that behavior can easily be ignored because it's presumed that people game for fun rather than compulsion. Removed, removed, removed. So games that use FOMO to get people to play would be a good example of games being bad for your mental health in this sense, I take it. A lot of games use FOMO nowadays. Removed. My spouse and I always had a deal to stay away from any game that requires your presence or else there are negative consequences. We knew several people who ended up divorced in the first few years of WoW. At least one of us plays games every evening. Neither of us is hurting for free time. But it's always something we can walk away from without repercussions if something needs our attention more. Since kids came along especially, that's important. Approaching games with children is a whole other complicated matter. My oldest enjoys playing sometimes, but is also happy to put the controller down and go outside or play with a friend, and has no issues with playtime being limited. My youngest gets hooked hard any time he encounters a game. He'll start getting upset if you try to stop him playing even to do things he ordinarily loves to do, and he obsessively asks to play the whole time he's awake. He's just too young yet, I think, so until his little brain is better able to understand limits we can't let him around games at all. I think it'll always be more of a struggle to balance this for him than for me oldest. Though, yeah, I do wonder if the current generation of gamers are going to be impacted by gaming much worse than mine growing up with gaming in the 90s or zeros when FOMO crap was barely even possible, let alone common. Hell, these days it isn't even really FOMO. FOMO is basically a sometimes irrational fear you are missing out on something, whereas these days online games put things you want behind walls that takes hours and hours of dedication to get past and with a limited time to get past them. It is the fear of missing out. It is a rational understanding you will miss out if you don't turn gaming into a second job. When the game goes too much, FOMO starts feeling like a chore. Also, there is an appeal to ego and competition in games like League of Legends. Don't forget that sometimes you have something to prove. What's FOMO? Every game with dailies, especially streaks. Removed. Basically, this survey proves that mobile gaming tactics employed to make you play are bad for mental health. I would say not just mobile gaming, but any sort of game as a service, especially seen in most free. 2. Play games, whether it be mobile, PEEP, or console. Basically, it just proves addiction is bad regardless. Provides strong evidence is more accurate. Cly Entertainment once wrote a really good article about why they refused to include achievements in their game Don't Starve. Intrinsic reward systems as extrinsic ones. It was about reward systems and how they change the reason we play games. Essentially, achievements are just a tool that has been developed to make people play even if they don't fundamentally enjoy what they are playing, championed by Blizzard, of course, the masters of addiction. In regards to a game like WoW, I think one of the main reasons that game is so toxic is because the game design shifted from trying to make a game that we want to play because it is good and fun and challenging to a game that we play because we feel like we must. It's why I always respect games whose achievements tend to be silly little jokes or things you get for something daft happening. Though even then people might still try to hunt them. which is a shame as I like it when I get an achievement for doing something incredibly stupid. Some games have achievements that are actually fun to do, like optional challenges that encourage you to play in an unorthodox way. The inability to stop despite consequences is a good measure for addictive behavior. Separately harmful is poorly defined in this study. It appears to rely on one's own interpretation of their mental health. Individual binary poled perception provides little insight into mental health disorders like narcissism and egomania, which are conditions that negatively impact one's ability to care or participate with society. Yeah, that's pretty much me take as well. It's just a really poor measure to describe mental health as not feeling worse. Seems we as a society have really pushed way too far into make sure everybody feels good and everything will be okay. Fear of missing out with mows and seasonal content put me in a very bad place. If I quit now, then all me time was wasted, I kept telling myself as I forced myself to log in for another day of joyless grinding, getting only the dullest hits of dopamine and serotonin. And other activities gave me no feeling at all, which lead me to struggle a lot with motivation and dealing with me actual responsibilities. Distancing myself from that stuff and taking gaming at me own pace has been so good for my mental health. I've got around that by putting last year's season items in the cash shop for the most part. Missed the summer 2021 event. Don't worry, pay us 50 and you can still DT the 50 or Fantasy Final Fantasy come or store war in us or product or 790 considering the subscription fee is 5 or month. Some people would rather unsub for a while, come back when there's new content to do, and pay for the previous seasonal items rather than continue to feel forced to log in. They said, bio, you said you view, the view verb, the view so you view, I am we said, I said, I you, hello. Oh, you view zero, do you view zero, view. Removed, 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 removed. The title of this is messy and wrong, severely wrong. That is not even what the article stated. It's this way for a lot of things, so it makes sense that feeling compelled would turn something enjoyable and or constructive into something destructive. Often in life it's the dose that decides the poison. If you diet and exercise because it fits your goals, lets you feel disciplined, positively affects your health and mood, then that's healthy. If you must diet, that might be anorexia. If you want to have sex, that's probably a fairly baseline impulse. If you must have sex, that could be nymphomania. If you work hard because you enjoy your job, want to achieve prosperity, take care of your loved ones, that's normal motivation. If you work hard to avoid engaging with others as compensation for real or perceived faults, then that might make you a workaholic. I say might or could be because I'm not a medical professional and I don't want to automatically make diagnoses. I'm simply pointing out that the same behaviors can vary wildly in benefit or harm depending on motivation. Removed. If they felt they had to play, they felt worse than who played because they felt they have to what? Removed. Isn't that the definition of an addiction? A need for it. Yeah. So it's stating that gaming addiction does exist, but that individuals who play on their own terms within the confines of their own work Life balance are not inclined to suffer mental health problems due to their hobby. Her one job in posting this article on here was the title, and you somehow butchered it. Deleted. Like everything in life, in moderation. It explicitly states that moderation is the deciding factor for mental health, but instead fun it is. People who play more but enjoy their experience feel less mental health effects than people who play less but feel compelled by the game mechanic. Except for hard drugs and Girl Scout cookies. But this is specifically about quantity alone not being important to mental health. Did you even read the title? Oh, they can definitely trigger a compulsion sometimes, especially in folks with OCT. But there is usually a wall where you rage quit. Let me fix that phrase. Behavior is mentally harmful unless the person has become addicted to said behavior and cannot stop themselves. This only confirms that addiction isn't just something that occurs with physical substances, but also with activities. It's literally not news. Except that it is news because it is yet another study that shows a high quantity of gaming has no ill effect on many gamers, as long as they are having fun. This is important information for players and parents everywhere. Many people still think it's bad for your brain or automatically becomes an addiction with time invested. This study shows that's not really the case. Those some people don't often argue that jogging is bad or will lead to addiction, so you can't just insert any behavior in place of gaming and have it be relevant. He maintains, we found it really does not matter how much gamers played in terms of their sense of well-being. It was the quantity of gaming, but the quality that counted. If they felt they had to play, they felt worse. If they played because they loved it, then the data did not suggest it affected their mental health. It seemed to give them a strong positive feeling. Months of negotiations with the gaming platforms about the use of the data preceded the research, followed by months of analysis. Analyzing the data itself was the easy bit, says Professor Przybylski. Disney, Microsoft, and Nintendo platforms have complex relationships with hundreds of game developers, and it is tricky to get everyone to agree that independent and rigorous science is in their players' best interests. But, Professor Przybylski points out, the data belongs to the gamers, not to the platforms, and not to the game developers. He adds, players want to know what impact gaming has. Scientists want to know. Parents want to know. The government wants to know. I want to know, and the information is there. This data needs to be open and it needs to be easy to share. If the big gaming platforms care about their players' well-being, they need to empower players and scientists to learn about how their products influence us, for good or ill. You botched the title up.